Go for it.
Friggin' what up, dude? Strider Wilson, and I'm the host of this podcast that's mine, going to be called History is Dank. History is Dank with Strider Wilson. Dankness from the
Frickin' what up, dude? Welcome back to another ep of History is Dank, dude. I'm your host, Strider Wilson. We got Aaron beasting it on the sticks, dude. What's going on, Aaron, dude?
What up?
Dude, I'm just posted up over here, dude. Feeling pretty fired up. You know, we're recording this episode on one day, and then funny enough, comes out a different day. Sometimes the same day. Sometimes, rare is the occasion. But here's the thing. In the gap of those days, your boy is going to be dun, 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 dun. I'm walking down the aisle. I'm really just making it about me, dude. That's right, dude. Getting freaking married. The date's finally here, dude. All those DMs that I've been getting about, dude, when the fuck are you getting married, dude? Why have you been engaged so long, dude? Well, guess what? You guys aren't wrong. It's been quite an engagement, 2 years.
Well, there was a global pandemic.
Yeah, there was a pandemic. Funny enough, the way that we're doing our wedding, it's outdoors, Santa Barbara Courthouse, gorgeous, gorgeous. If you're not even from the SoCal area and you want to do a wedding somewhere that's pretty tight, do it there. And, you know, a destination wedding is always a good way to keep costs down. You know, last episode, the D-Day episode, we talked about the wedding industry. It's outrageous, dude. It's out of control, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we're doing it, Aaron, is it's outside, and then also we have an outdoor patio. So, like, as far as all the pandemic rules went, we probably could have absolutely done this during, like, you know, not the height of, like, when they did lockdown stuff, but...
Yeah, but you didn't want people to fly at that time, and...
True. Yeah. Would have been a bust. And, you know, we got, my dank-ass fiancés.
You don't want your wedding to be a super spreader event.
Yeah, exactly. Only thing I want to spread is love and joy.
Yeah.
And my butt
and
on my wedding night.
Yeah.
Say, take a look at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is yours now.
It's a weird first time, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. So, you know, you gotta save some sort of, I want to do some sort of virgin something on my wedding night, and I'm going to spread my butt. You know, and she's going to go, oh.
It's bold.
Yeah. Got to. And then look back under my legs, maybe even pass out. You ever lean over to pick something up these days and be like, I probably could have just passed out doing that? I'll go pick up my dog toy. I'm like, am I that? Like, what's my cardiovascular shape like where I lean over and I'm like, I come up from leaning over and I'm like, ah. Why is that, dude? I got problems, I guess. In any case, I'm fired up to be getting freaking married, dude. Got my freaking dank-ass fiance. Very stoked to now be able to do this beautiful phrase, Aaron, which anytime I'm out anywhere, I just want to ask somebody, have you seen my wife? Have you seen my wife? Where's my wife? She's this tall. She's wearing this. She went out without sunscreen on. I need to give her the sunscreen. It's nothing too crazy, you know? It's not like, you know, maybe it could be who wrote those Clear and Present Danger movies? The character that John Krasinski...
Tom Clancy,
I was going to say. It could be a Tom Clancy scenario. I wish it was a Tom Clancy scenario. I had to get my wife back from, you know, some sort of dictator who, you know... I found out the American government was doing shady operations in that dictator's country. You know, it's two wrongs. I'm just caught in the middle of it and trying to right everything and get the one that I love back. That's how I am every time I check into a Ramada Inn now. That's how I'm going to be. Speaking of nuptials and buttholes, I was just doing some research, being like, dude, what's a sick-ass topic to talk about? And we just did D-Day, the beaches. So then I was just looking at stuff like, not a very stoke-inducing beach that you'd want to be on June 6, 1944. So then I try to just like, you know, I want to have there to be duality in life. I want to go, what are some sick-ass beaches? Cabo, Salt Creek, where I grew up, Dank breakfast burritos, sick-ass lefts, you know, that I wasn't allowed to surf because I suck. I'd get beat up by mom.
Salt Creek just doesn't sound like a beach.
I know.
Sounds like a creek.
You know, they would do that in South Orange County. Like there's a Liso Creek, Salt Creek, Laguna Creek. They would call these beaches like creeks. And then I found out later in life, a lot of it is because sewage went directly out into them.
Oh yeah.
So gnarly, bro. Sewage.
You're talking to the guy who lived, miles from Imperial Beach, which is always closed
one of the biggest shitholes in the world
because of the Tijuana River runs off right there.
Yes. Yeah, you probably have some bodies that wash up there.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find sweet ass beaches, but then I was enticed, and just my research took me to the most dangerous beaches. Huntington's one of them too, because of the stingrays. And it was this cool article, and I was reading all these things about, tons of beaches around the world. And they're like, not the best, they'd be like, oh, Ipanema, it's a nice beach, but there's pickpockets, stuff like that. Then I came to a very intriguing one. Mm-hmm. And it had lent itself to more of a historical angle, which we always appreciate here on History is Dank. North Sentinel Island. Have you heard of this island, Aaron?
Can't say that I have, no.
It's in the Bay of Bengal. We're talking India.
India, okay.
Exactly. Talking India. This is believed to be the how should I phrase this? Not the most remote, because it's like, what's the most remote? Maybe Antarctica.
Hawaii is the most remote.
Yeah, Hawaii is very remote. Maybe Marshall Islands, but those are uninhabitable. They've been nuked, the famous infamous Bikini Atoll. But North Sentinel Island is sort of a undisturbed, quote, undisturbed tribe, the Sentinelese people. Now, here's the thing. We don't know what these people would call themselves. Now, anthropologists probably say there's something called the Andaman Islands, so they're probably an offshoot, or at one point were part of the Andamanese people who tragically were like wiped out. There used to be like 60,000 of them. They were wiped out to like, I think maybe 100 left today of like actual descendants. But the Sentinelese people are believed to have existed on that island without influence of the outside world for like 60,000 years. So it's pretty cool. It's a very cool, like sort of snapshot, if you will, to a Stone Age. That's sort of a misnomer, because as we get into this a little bit, there have been shipwrecks and metalworks that have come into contact with these people, and the outside world has tried to make contact with them. So they know there are these basically like these fucking aliens. And then like there was a tsunami that came in like 2004 to that region, and like helicopters would fly over just to like make sure the people of the island were doing okay. And also, there's drones and shit so that we can like check in and learn more now. But what we're going to talk about is the contact with the Sentinelese people, and Aaron, the violent Sentinelese people. Now, here's the thing.
They often are, these contacts.
Yeah, these contacts, and they have good reason. Look at the Andaman people. They're basically wiped out through colonialism. Every tribal society, even large cultures, wiped out by disease.
The Incas, the Aztecs.
Incas, Aztecs. And at the end of this episode, I'll get into a few more. I was curious. I was like, okay, Sentinelese people, what are the other most remote, I keep wanting to say remote, but that's not quite the, just isolated, I would say.
Yeah, there's a bunch on the Amazon.
That's exactly right. A lot on the Amazon. And then it's classic, like it's one of the bummer stories where it's like, you got deforestation and now they're forced to have to come in contact with the outside world because their forest is getting burned because of, farming and everything like that. So in logging. So that is always such a bummer to talk about. But on Sentinel Island, you sort of have a nice ending, but I'll get to. But there have been some not so nice things taking place along the way. So first, let's get into the island a little bit. Like I mentioned, Bay of Bengal, it's close to India. So picture that part in your brain, that map of the world. Beautiful screensaver looking tropical waters. The island is about the size of Manhattan.
It's pretty sizable.
Yeah, good size, dense forest. And the reason that it was able to remain so isolated for so long is it was off of like the main shipping lanes. It's a little bit more isolated. There's also tough currents and a big coral reef around it that like in no natural harbor. So there was no reason for like Dutch East India Company or any of these, you know, what's it called, like colonial powers to really go and settle there. There was no economic factor to it. So that helped.
It's not next to a highway. We don't need to put a McDonald's there.
Correct.
Yeah.
We don't need to get one of those big ass, what are those giant rest stops in Texas? Bugsby's?
Oh, I don't know what they're called.
Busby's that are like, they advertise their bathrooms. It's like, dude, come in here and just drill yourself. Like they have nice stalls that like, they're actually like floor to roof stalls. So you go in there and like kind of nice marble. They're always like clean. They're like, we clean our bathrooms every 15 minutes. If they're not clean, like it's like, come and take a shit at our rest stop. You're going to love it. And honestly, dude, it's awesome. And then they sell all sort of like trinkets and bullshit. And actually, since it's Texas, I do want to say they sell guns, but they don't. But they do sell barbecue pits. You can buy a barbecue pit there, which I thought was awesome.
What do they call that?
So, before we dive more into the Sentinelese, and this was just curious, and I wanted to know about this, but there's estimated to be more than 100 isolated tribes in Brazil. In the places around the world where you can find isolated tribes: Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, northern Paraguay. You got Papua New Guinea. There were some famous interactions in Papua New Guinea, and then North Sentinel Island, which we're talking about today, part of the Andaman Island chain, supposedly the most isolated in the world. So they don't know exactly how many people live there. It's dense forest. They say there could be as many as little as 50 or 15, and as many as 500 people living on that island. So in most recent years, and we'll get into this, some dude, and I don't want to talk about it too much, like this missionary guy was like, I need to go spread Christianity there. And it was like, no, dude, you don't. And he ended up getting killed. This is like in 2006. And like this guy knew, it's like, dude, everyone who's gone to this island basically gets killed. And you'll go, wait, so why are the Sentinelese people violent? Like, why are they so aggressive? Well, we'll find out. They have what we would think of as basically Stone Age type tools and weaponry, but with metal tips. Like I mentioned, they'd find sunken vessels or downed whatever, and trash would probably float to their island, aluminum, whatever. And they go, oh, hell yeah. I mean, these are expert forest survivors, and you know, they got to have excellent craftsmanship, dude. So they're putting that shit in their weapons, no problem. We don't know much about how they live. Like I mentioned, we don't know how they even refer to themselves. And a lot of what we know is based on one single visit to a Sentinelese village in 1967. But before we dive into that, I must remind our listeners about our Dank sponsor. Finally, the season of summer has arrived. So whether you're headed out on a road trip or rushing through the airport, or like me, planning a nice honeymoon, skip the usual stress of travel and chill out with Dadgrass. Don't worry, all their products are TSA approved. Right now, Dadgrass is offering our listeners 20% off your first order when you go to dadgrass.com/dank. Go to dadgrass.com/dank for 20% off your first order. That's dadgrass.com/dank. All right.
TSA approved, not to say that you can smoke them at the airport.
Yeah, don't smoke them. This ain't a scenario. Smoke them if you got them. We're back in 5. No. If you smoke it in TSA, you'll probably miss your flight. Yeah. But you can pack them in your bag, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will be doing that for when I do my freaking fantasy draft in August. Okay. So in 1967, you got a group of anthropologists going in there. They go into the forest, and like basically the fires were still warm. The Sentinelese people scattered and hid in their areas that they know. Obviously, this is their home, right? They know it freaking like the back of their dongs. And what we know is they built small huts, lean-tos. They have outrigger canoes. They maneuver with long poles, shallow waters. They fish. They harvest crabs. Basically a hunter-gathering people. Probably live on the fruits that grow on the island. Famously, and we'll get into this, not coconuts. No coconuts grow there. Probably feast on, bird eggs, some freaking lizard eggs, dude, seagulls, turtles, even wild pigs, birds. It always fascinates me that pigs can get to these islands, but the waters are so shallow. When tides are low, mammals can cross, kind of like in the Bahamas. So let's get into contact with the outside world. One of the earliest recorded attempts, 1880. Okay. You got this guy, Maurice Portman. Now he gets assigned, this is, part of the British Empire. He's 20 years old, fancies himself a anthropologist. He gets assigned, India's, infamously under British rule. You have Gandhi later. We should do an episode on Gandhi. We'll get into that later, but not in this episode. But you got this guy, Maurice Portman, 1880, and he goes, I'm sort of an anthropologist. Probably he should just focused on the apologist portion of that word, because what he does is he goes in there, much like this group in 1967, he goes in and wants to meet with the people, get in contact, right? This is like the age of explorer, like exploration books are like huge and wildly popular on the British Empire. Like they're super, super, Hollywood ends up making movies with them early on. King Kong, got stories like that come out of, these type of encounters. So this guy's like, I'm going to go on an adventure, dude. So he goes in there, and like I mentioned in 1967, when the Sentinelese people, hid from these outsiders, they don't know what's going on. And it's good that they did. They're bringing disease and all sorts of things, and they don't know what to expect. So everyone scatters. But in 1880, maybe this guy Portman was a little bit quicker to get into the interior of the forest. It's tough to trek there. It's like I mentioned, the island. It's barrier reef, beautiful, screensaver blue waters, white sands. Then immediately dense forest and a little bit of elevation, but not much, towards the center of the island. And it's pretty big. It's the size of Manhattan. You can hide on another side of it if you have to. And so this guy cruises in there and finds an elderly couple and some kids. Guess they couldn't get away quick enough. He kidnaps them. He goes, sorry, you guys are coming with us. So basically he's a total alien. And now his intent is not malicious. He's thinking of himself as he wants to reign them with gifts, bring them, back to Port Blair in the capital of the Andaman Islands. He wants to, learn and exchange gifts and gain knowledge and write a book and do all this type of stuff. But he's overlooking the fact that he's taking people from their home without their consent, old people and kids. So really doing a whammy kidnapping here. And the elder couple falls ill pretty much immediately. They're not used to city life, even in that capital. It's not like it's in New York City or in Manhattan itself, but still there's people living there. This guy Portman, he's been exposed to every city disease, right? So the elder couple falls ill and dies. So fearing that the kids are going to die too, Portman and his crew, they're like, all right, dude, let's bring them back. So they bring them back, which is also a double bad move because they could have illness and it's not documented. We don't know if that tribe just left those kids out there and they're like, look, you've been exposed. Like no one knows what happened to those kids. So very bad. So then now we also have to ask ourselves, what is the deal? You go, okay, this is probably makes sense that the Sentinel people approach outsiders with arrows and slings. People get freaking kidnapped. It's aliens, dude. Imagine if aliens come down. Are you not going to run and hide? If a vessel, the ship that they arrived on probably looked like something insane, massive. They're in outrigger canoes. These are giant, ships, size of, tennis courts. That's massive with 3 masts. Come on. But then again, and I did kind of go over this, I'm a little out of order, but there was a, not contact, but awareness in the first written record of North Sentinel Island, at least in the Western annals of history. One night in 1771, every good story begins like this. An East India Company vessel sails past Sentinel Island, and they see lights gleaming, so fires, and some singing. They can hear it in the distance. And it was like on a survey mission, so it doesn't stop. It just kind of goes by. So that's how we know about it, right? And then I mentioned this 1880, one of the earliest recorded interactions. So that's like, you kind of get, you don't get both sides of the story. And in this interaction that I'm about to tell you about, which is even more tragic, you have a ship that runs up on the reef, right? Goes aground on the reef. 86 passengers and 20 crew managed to swim and splash their way to the beach. This takes place somewhere between 1771 and 1880. Crew is huddled there. Sorry, I had to take a dank ass sip of my iced tea. I'm treating myself. Hey, if you're not treating yourself, then who is? That's what I say. Reminding the listeners now, take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Do something nice for yourself. Whether it be a little back rub, something like that, you know, get a massage. Get yourself a hypervolt Theragun. Drill yourself with that. 86 passengers, merchant ship, an Indian merchant ship called Nineveh. It runs aground on the reef. 86 passengers, 20 crew, swim and splash their way to the beach. Imagine that. Ship's going to sink. You make it to the beach. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. But it turns out this is sort of a, what do they say? Out of the frying pan into the furnace or something like that.
Into the fire.
Into the fire, yeah. Huddled there for 3 days. And the Sentinelese people, they go, all right, too long, don't like it. And all we can do is imagine what's going on. And you probably have maybe you would compare it to the Andaman and how their tribal system was set up. Who knows? Maybe if they have a leader, it could be very democratic. Probably is democratic if it takes 3 days to deliberate. Who knows? Maybe they're not deliberating. Maybe they're just watching and being like, counting down. 3 days is our rule. It's like fish. After 3 days, it goes bad. Get it the hell out. Anyway, they decide these people are intruders, overstayed their welcome, go down there and murk some people.
Poke those schmoles.
Mm-hmm. Laterville, dude. People fight back. They throw rocks and stuff. Like I mentioned, it's sort of truly Stone Age weaponry here. And we don't know. That's the account. You have these are our Westerners, even though it's an Indian ship, but like, you know, from what, you know, Western society, advanced society at this time is on that island, and all we're going to get is their account. I mean, maybe they'll be like, I don't know, Derek, he was a schmoll. He kept going in there and showing his butt to the tribe, which I say that. I'm talking about a lot of butt stuff today, but there is an account where the Sentinelese people do show their butts, and it's not exactly sure what it means, but I'll get into it in a little bit. So I'm not being totally weird. Am I being weird? Yes, but not totally weird. But was Derek being weird? Yes.
Yes.
Point is, we don't know what the Westerners did, if they went in there, if they stole something or stole something of value that you know, the Sentinelese people, who know, some religious significance. All we can do is speculate. All that we do know is that people lost their lives. Finally, they were able to, you know, be rescued and taken out of there, but isolation continues. Okay. All we know is there was no cooperation. So we jumped forward to 1967, which I brought up. You have now starting, it was under British rule. The British were like, all right, we're not going there, whatever. You might have some people, you know, fishermen would run ashore and get killed. Basically, it's like if you go to that island, you get killed. So, and it's not on a main shipping way. If you're subsistence fishing, which maybe some of these fishermen were, and then tides took them close to the island and met unfortunate fates, you know, and the bodies are really never recovered. Very, very gnarly stuff. But then you have this anthropologist, this guy, Pandit is his last name. And he is actually a real anthropologist, unlike the Schmoll Portman. And he goes, look, I've got a contract from the Indian government. This is 67, so this is after Gandhi and you know, British colonialism has ended there, at least officially. And he's like, look, I want to try to make contact. Let's go see about these people. And it's just sort of interesting. And I get it. I mean, in hindsight, you look back and you're like, look, just leave these people alone. Like, they're doing well. Like, you see the pictures on the beaches, and I've watched a little bit of video. The dudes are jacked. Okay, like, people aren't malnourished. Like, they've been surviving this way for 60,000 years on their little island, and they're doing all right. And it's not even that little of an island, the size of Manhattan. And there's no reason economically for anyone to go there. Like, unfortunately, these tribes in Brazil and South America, where economic factors and greed, deforestation, logging are impacting the lives of those quote unquote undisturbed tribes. In any case, what you have taking place is periodically every few years, and famously in 1981, National Geographic tags along, and actually this is 1974, they tag along. And what would happen is, every 3 years or whatever, this anthropologist Pandit would cruise up. He would drop coconuts, bring some plastic gifts, modern gifts or whatever, and like for the first few times they would just go fuck this, and they'd be like buried. They wouldn't even accept anything. The Sentinelese people wouldn't even accept shit. They'd be like, get out of here, dude. But then someone tried a coconut, and they're like, all right, these things are pretty freaking dank. So then there's this video from 1974, and the Sentinelese people are like kind of telling the boats to back up, but then like, dudes are throwing the coconuts on the beach and like doing like peaceful gesturing and like kind of like a dance or whatever, to be like, hey, look, we don't mean harm. Like, the classic wave. Yep. Good old, float wave.
Walkman.
Yeah, doing the walk.
Here, Walkman.
Yeah, exactly. Here. Exactly, dude.
Trying to give them technology.
Just throwing some Shaka what-ups, dude.
Shaka what-ups.
And then, dude, obviously, like, one guy will go out, and then famously there's this gesture. Well, first what happens to this director is he gets actually shot by an arrow. They get too close, and he gets shot by the arrow in the leg. He lives, but the guy catches a fucking arrow, dude. You have this famous interaction, though, where this guy, after a few of the gift drops take place, one of the Sentinelese men raises his arrow, and then a woman takes her hand and takes the bow and arrow and puts it down. And it's been described as being like, it could have been an organic thing of the woman being like, no, they mean no harm. But it also might have been like choreographed, where the guy's like, look, I'm attacking you, but then also, see this? But we're not going to attack you. And then people are just trying to interpret where it's like, okay, they will attack, but right now we're saying we won't. So it's very speculative. So it's not sure of like whether this guy intended to shoot, and then his like wife or whoever the woman was like, no, don't do that. Or if it was this whole grand gesture of like, they planned it out. The Sentinelese people were like, we're going to go out there, show them that we will shoot their ass, but then with this gesture be like, okay, we mean peace right now. And it's never been like, come and gain access, check out our huts, let's frickin' grill some dank ass crabs together, Maryland style, crab cakes and freaking football. It's like, nah, dude, give us the fucking coconuts. We'll accept your coconuts later. So, and then you go, well, why? You might ask yourself, why not letting the outside world in? Well, we've kind of gone over this.
Yeah, it's been nothing but bad.
It's been nothing but bad. And all the evidence in the world goes, they're correct to keep the outside world out. Disease, colonialism, the Andamanese people, they've been wiped out to 100. They used to thrive at like 60,000. So they're absolutely making the right call. 1981, this cargo ship, the Primrose, crew of 28, goes aground in the reef, treacherous reef. It's called the Nineveh, I think. Anyway, no one dies then. They're rescued by helicopter. But you have to imagine, place yourself, and in the video I didn't see anyone wearing shoes, but you got to place yourself in the shoes of the Sentinelese people and go, now you're seeing a fucking helicopter show up and rescue people from like a modern 1981 like cargo ship. Also, quite the score. Yeah. Go on and take that, go out to the reef and be like, dude, fucking, maybe someone scored like a, did they have Nintendo back then, dude? That'd be so sick. I mean, obviously there's no electricity, but imagine the Sentinelese people just playing Mario Kart. Be so sick, dude. They could probably play, throw real turtle shells at each other, dude. Freaking so legit, dude. I remember when I went on vacation one time, like spoiled little bitch that I am, and my brothers and I missed playing Mario Kart so bad that we sat in our hotel room and talked about playing Koopa Troopa Island level together and like closed our eyes. We should have been outside enjoying nature, but we're like, nah, dude. It's how averse to nature we are right now. And then we would also, in public, like a continental breakfast at the hotel or whatever, I would steal a banana. We'd all try to like take a banana with us and be like, oh, it's a snack for later. Okay, cool. My parents were like, smart. Never thought you guys would do something like that. But then we would just eat half the banana and place the banana peel on the ground so that our other brothers would like step on it and be like, we just wiped you out, dude. You gotta fall. Classic. So, this interaction that I'm mentioning also took place in 1991 with the arrow gesture. A little bit later. My dates are messed up, but you know what? Fuck dates, dude. We kind of know what's going on, you know?
Yeah, it's all the same.
It's all the same relative thing. It's not, you know, it's not 1880s, 1980, 1991, you know what I mean?
91, it's not maybe not a Walkman, it's not quite a CD.
Exactly. It's not exactly like, you know, we know they're finding a Nintendo console, but not maybe an Atari, not an Xbox, you know what I mean? Come on, we get it, dude.
Yeah. I was going to say, you know, it'd be the hell of a score is the Malaysian airplane that crashed.
Oh, yeah.
That went missing. The stuff washed up on this island, and that's why we haven't found it.
Dude, easily could. A little black box or whatever is sitting there, and some guy's just using it as a seat.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, I'm going to sit on this fucking thing, dude.
Dinner table for me.
Yeah. That could absolutely happen, and no one's going to go there.
Yep, not allowed.
Even after this peaceful gesture that I mentioned, and you know, the anthropologists would stay out on the boats, bring in gifts. The exchange would take place over a couple days, and then like 2 or 3 days later, always like basically 3 days, a Sentinelese man brings out his knife. So like a different dude, like, you know, I mentioned this gesture of the arrow going down. He brings out the knife and gives the universal slit the throat sign. He's like, get the fuck out of here. And then they're like, okay, I think we can all interpret what that means.
Yeah.
Classic, dude.
Yeah, the woman telling the guy to put the arrow down is probably like, you're a dog shit shot. We all know it. Just don't even, you know, that's all it means.
Exactly. Anyway, so freaking gnarly. And suffice to say, and maybe this is going to be a quick banger of an episode, so let me do this before we wrap things up. Once again, I got to remind you guys and got to give a big shout out to Dadgrass and just go, I mean, have you ever just been too damn high? I've been there. It's the worst, dude. In today's weed, finding your perfect dose, dangerous game, not a game I want to play. So light up with the weed of yesteryear so you can chill out like you did back during the summer of love, dude. Dadgrass is reviving the pleasure of the casual toke, and I'm there for it. I'm all about the pre-rolls, dude. You know I'm packing them when I go on my honeymoon and gonna friggin' spark up one of those pops on the Amalfi Coast or wherever we decide to go. I don't know. I'm fired up to plan it out. Heck, I'm going to plan one up, spark one up while we're planning it out, dude. Cruise out and use the Wi-Fi on my balcony. That's right. I'm living large. Got Wi-Fi on my balcony, having a nice 100% organic pre-rolled joint, very low in THC and high in CBD, so I can enjoy the effects of cannabis while keeping a clear dome and making good vacationary decisions, dude. Best part too, it's easy, bro. Even though I'm traveling, Dadgrass comes to me. All Dadgrass products are federally legal for ages 18 and over, and they ships right to your door anywhere in the U.S. And like we mentioned, it's TSA approved. So whether you're looking for a new buzz or a chill way to enjoy an old favorite, Dadgrass will leave you in a euphoric mood. Fire it up, dude. Get yourself some pre-rolls. That's what I'm all about, dude. Tell a friend, dude. You know what I'm saying, dude? Freaking puff, pass the knowledge to your friends, dude. So right now, let me pass you this knowledge. Dadgrass is offering our listeners 20% off your first order when you go to dadgrass.com/dank. Go to dadgrass.com/dank for 20% off your first order. That's dadgrass.com/dank. All right, dude. Back to the Sentinelese people, dude. In all of these interactions, basically no knowledge was gained. No one was ever invited to the interior of the island, and for the best. Like these, you know, in hindsight, and check some of the resources in here that I went to, some interesting, cool websites. There's one called Survival International. I was like, there's got to be like, you know, I mean, we have national parks and we want to preserve animal sanctuaries and stuff, and there probably are some, but people, you know, like poaching, people break the rules, right? And it's like Morpheus said, dude, some rules are meant to be bent, others are meant to be broken, dude. But I like when that basically just applies to physics and kung fu, not to people and animal livelihood. But I'm like, dude, there's got to be a way to protect these things. And thank goodness now the Indian government has said, look, we're not going to try to make contact. It's not, what good does it do? We are being the schmoles by trying to go there and be like, hey, check it out. Cool. Hey, I mean, have you guys tried a Slurpee? I mean, I do want to share a Slurpee with someone. It'd be great.
Sure.
Be great. But you know what? By doing that, you're in contact with germs. Some sort of disease could spread. Populations could get wiped out. I mean, it's bad. And these people really, you know, it's tough to say, like, I can't really say, oh, they haven't hurt anybody, because they have. Yeah. But also, like, it's their home. You're going into their house. And that's why it's sad. But you had this one dude who, I mean, dude, look, man, he's a Christian. Good for him. I'm not going to knock anyone's faith. But also, don't these people have the right to worship their own God? Like, why is he going to? And also, dude, you know, this guy had to have known. Why do you got to pick this island? He was seeking glory here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of other people. There's a million people. I could walk down freaking Magnolia Boulevard right here, and there's a million people who need saving, right? Right here at home in your backyard. Start there. So that was sad. Some fishermen, you know, there's been unfortunate fishermen that wash up. So, but you know, it's a tough, I mean, I guess sort of debate, but it has to fall under, like, look, they were there first. They've been there a long time, 60,000 years. They don't, obviously they're thriving and doing okay without us, even in tumultuous weather conditions. They've figured out a way for life to exist uninterrupted. Let's let that happen. It's cool if we can. So I'm glad that the Indian government and society at large is like, yeah, let's not go there, you know? So that's sick. However, you do have, and I was interested, I was like, okay, Sentinelese people, what else are people doing that's interesting? And we don't know exactly what their practices are there. You know, this is all just kind of based on speculation and limited interactions. But there are some other, remember I mentioned Papua New Guinea. They say there may be about 40 uncontacted tribes in Papua New Guinea. That's very remote. It's kind of by Australia, but New Zealand type area. Hunter-gatherer societies. Then you have, like, in the 70s, this Western anthropologist contacts the people, and it started, like, you know, a lot of tourism going there. But and also now there's the threat of mining and logging on that land. It's kind of like, I mean, what's happened in North Sentinel Island and these tribes is exactly what happened to, like, you know, the North American tribes. Like, you know, you have, look at the Sioux Nation. They were not gifted, but, like, the government was like, hey, it's a very Western lens to say that, but, like, gifted their own lands. They were there first, but it was like, hey, there was a contract of, like, you guys can just have this land, you know, we've taken everything else, but, you know, like, for the, you know, the people in Congress that did have generally good intent for the Sioux Nation and some other tribes, they're like, oh yeah, take this Idaho area. Then it's discovered that there's, like, granite deposits there, and it was also, like, one of the most religiously significant mountains. And then the government's like, nope, we want that stuff. Yeah. So what's sad is the almighty dollar will rule. I think North Sentinel Islands is, I guess lucky is the word, that there's no economic incentive there, because it's even, there's one in Papua New Guinea. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you have this, there's no way I'm going to be able to say this word right, Mokhatamatema tribe. Probably saying that really wrong. Whenever there's an X and an I close in a word, you know I'm going to fuck it up.
Yeah, that's tough.
They've got aerial also, but what's cool now is, like, with drones and infrared imaging, you can kind of find out where everybody is. It's also kind of how we catch like illegal loggers and farming and stuff like that going on in the Amazon, because it is supposed to be protected, right?
Yeah.
You got tribes in Peru that are isolated. And it's sad because you'll have some of these tribes that will walk into villages, and it's like, yeah, dude, these people know that they're experts at surviving in the forest. They know, it's like any animal that lives out there. Like, I'm not saying at all that tribal people are like animals, or maybe they are akin to them in this regard of having heightened senses and of what's going on in their forest. That's all I'm saying. So these people are human beings. They have right to their homes, as do I think the animals. So, you know, it's a bummer, dude, when big industry gets in there, dude, you know? So hopefully it stays out and it can be enforced. And it made me think of what I wanted to end today's episode on, a quote from the great naturalist John Muir, 19th century naturalist. He's sort of who got like the national parks bill going, and you know, Teddy Roosevelt was famous for signing it and enacting it. He was a big nature naturalist himself. The term, I don't know if I've mentioned this on previous pod, but teddy bear comes from, they would do this like sort of like rich dude ranch hunting type thing where it's like, oh, you want to kill a bear? And I guess it's like one thing if you go out there and actually do hunt a bear in an area where they're overpopulated. I don't think you can do that now, but this was like back in, you know, like I mentioned, around the turn of the 19th, 20th century. And, he goes to this park, Teddy Roosevelt, and like there's this like emaciated bear. It's like kind of tied up, and then they like let it go, and they're like, all right, yeah, go have fun, dude. And it's like, what the hell is this? And like they say, Teddy kind of cried, and that's why he got he's like, leave that poor thing alone. And that's where he got that. He's got a soft spot. Tough man with a soft heart. I love that. Tough exterior, soft interior. We always love those type of characters, don't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, John Muir, he talks about humanity's widespread desecration of nature. In the noblest forest, and he has a quote, in the noblest forests of the world, the ground, once divinely beautiful, is desolate and repulsive, like a face ravaged by disease, he wrote. Quote, the same fate sooner or later is awaiting them all unless awakening public opinion comes forward to stop it. So we do have the power to stop it. Mm-hmm. And this isn't even me talking about global warming type stuff, which is great. Every guy when it rains in LA or it drops before 64 degrees, climate change, or the argument, the world's always changed. Look at the ice age. The Earth's always changing climate. I'm like, all right, dude. I'm not even going to dive into that argument. All I'm going to tell you is we do pollute a lot of shit. Like, just go look at the gutter. Like, we can do a little bit better. Yeah. And maybe we should try. Like, it's just, so, you know, start small, right? Other than that, dude, I'm happy that the Sentinelese people are being left alone. Don't go visit that beach, because you will get murdered.
Hey.
And it will be your fault.
It's going to be your fault.
Because it's not easy to get there. You actually have to break rules to get there.
Yep. Got to go black market.
You do, exactly. You have to go black market. You have to pay some fishermen who know the waterways, who go, we don't get any closer to this island than this. But then maybe you get there and you find King Kong, and that's kind of sick. Skull Island.
Skull Island, man.
You got a good story.
Yeah.
In any case, fired up.
Even if you find like a Sasquatch, they'll fuck you up. Like, I mean,
yeah, he'll totally fuck you up, dude. Do you want to see Sasquatch, dude?
I mean, I want to believe he exists.
It'd be pretty rad.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention the butthole stuff.
Oh.
During one of those interactions with the anthropologist, you know, that took place from like, you know, sort of the 60s through early 90s, late 60s, early 90s, the tribe would at some point turn around and like squat and like show their butts to the anthropologist, which kind of meant like, all right, we're done with you guys. Or like, it's like sort of a gesture, like basically a little less clear than a knife going across the throat.
Yeah.
But just kind of being like, look, we're not mad, but also at the same time, like, I'm annoyed. I'm gonna go take a nap, dude. Like, right?
Yeah.
Got to go change my kids. I don't know if they have diapers, but whatever, dude. So just really wanted to get that in there, dude. Other than that, dude, freaking stoked, fired up. You know, I've been getting comments saying, hey, I missed the write-ins and the questions and stuff. Baby, send me some emails. I'm there for them, dude. I'm there. Fired up to answer anything I can. So let me know. So stoked. I'm going to be coming back with a little hardware on my hand.
Nice.
In about a week, fired up to join, you know, the married life like Aaron, dude, have my wife. Mm-hmm. And Other than that, freaking stay stoked. Aaron, you're a freaking beast, dude. And we'll catch you guys on the next up, dude. Freaking lit.